So we will now move on to the last session of today's 14th Foodpolis International Conference, joined by the speakers of the conference today. So we would like to first ask questions one by one to the speakers, the questions that were received in advance.
Let's begin our panel discussion. To start off, I will ask each speaker a question, and then we will open the floor later on. So, all right. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. And actually, I usually enjoy a cup of Dolce Gusto coffee with Kit Kat.
Excellent.
Yeah, great combination. So it's my great pleasure to meet you in person.
Thank you. Might as well.
All right. Our first question is for you. As a CEO of the world's largest food company, could you share your thoughts and comments on what innovation means from the perspective of the leading food company?
Sure. For a food company like Nestlé, who, as you said, is quite innovation is everything. It's how we determine what our future looks like. It's how we stay relevant with consumers. It's how we live out our purpose with respect to environmental concerns that we take very, very seriously. It's how we do everything. And sometimes our challenge, to be frank, internally is how to focus. As I mentioned, we have over 4,100 research and development employees across our very large company. And what we're starting to get better and better at, frankly, is selecting. So we know greenhouse gas reduction, we have a net zero target, that is a focus area, and we research very deeply there. We know regenerative agriculture is a core fundamental responsibility because of the value chains we touch. We focus there, we research deeply, and we innovate as much as we can there. Innovation is also and always, of course, on the brand side of things, whether it's brand extensions, the packaging elements that we know we need to continue to evolve in as we move more towards recyclability and reuse as well. So it's focus, we are at scale, and it's integral to how we do our business.
All right, thank you very much for your detailed and kind comment and answer. As you mentioned, then innovation is actually everything for the future and next generation for sustainability. 네, 감사합니다. 우리 혁신에 대해서 고견을 주셨고요. 두 번째
So thank you very much for
질문은
sharing your
우리
insight on
한정희
innovation.
드리도록 하겠습니다.
Next question is for Ms. Han. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. So, as you said, probiotics products in the Asian market has been increasing in terms of demand. So, what product characteristics do consumers consider as most important? The most important characteristic of probiotics products is the GI health, as well as the immune functionality and efficacy, how all of these advantages can be felt by the consumers after their intake. And we want to make sure that these benefits are sustained so that can be translated into repurchase of these products. So Asian market is very much focused on the safety as well as efficacy of these products, and that is why there is a huge demand for probiotics in Asia. Yes, I can see and hear from your answer that as a consumer myself, I think that I'll be very much focused on all of these characteristics that will help me to rebuy the product in the future. Now moving on to the third question, that is for Mr. Nakamura. First of all, I would like to say it in Korean and then in English. So you mentioned about EVAL or EVAL packaging. So when EVAL packaging becomes more widespread, what activities does Kure plan to undertake to enhance consumer awareness of recycling?
Becomes more widespread in the global market. How does Kure plans to raise consumers' awareness about recycling? Would you please? Yep. You can just speak. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, it is a very difficult question for us because actually we are producing for not consumer product. So it is not easy to directly contact with consumers. So we made a plastic resin, and our customer is make a package, and at last food manufacturer make a food product, and then consumer buy the product. So it is not easy to education or something like the lead to the consumer directly. But anyway, so basically our company policy is for people and for the world. We must do what other company cannot do. It's our company policy. So EVO, it is our product name, and the plastic name is EVOH, ethylene vinyl alcohol, and EVOH only 3 companies can produce in the world. So then, and also, Clare is a leading company of EVOH. So then we have to more and more explain what is EVOH, and EVOH can contribute sustainable package like today. And it's not good comment, but to educate the packaging company itself, themselves, and also then first step, I have to explain more and more food and packaging relating company. And next step, maybe food manufacturer start to educate the people for the package material is very important to the sustainable social sustainability, and at that time we can support to the food manufacturer, I think.
Thank you very much for your great answer. For me personally, it was the very first chance to learn how technology, especially the EVO, sustainable packaging system, going on the field for consumers. So I'd like to express my gratitude for letting me know and letting us know about that detailed technology. 네, 감사합니다. 감사합니다. 네, 마지막 질문입니다. 우리
So the last question goes to Mr. Kim. He delivered the last presentation. It was quite impressive. At Intake, you are creating alternative eggs and products using alternative eggs. And consumers, if they did not know it was an alternative egg, would they think that it's the real deal? It's the real egg? In terms of the texture and the flavor, is it similar to a real egg? What's the possibility of that? So thank you very much for that great question. So we talked about alternative meat, but I think we have similar issues. So in terms of texture, color, and flavor, we can create something very similar. But then the next step would be, if we want to make sure that it's not just similar, but we want people to actually want to eat the alternative eggs. So it's not meaningful to create a product that is exactly the same as an egg. Then you should just eat an egg. Avian influenza, or unless there is some sort of issues, suddenly there's not going to be a huge demand for our product. So whether it's boiled eggs or whether it's fried eggs, we want to look at the functions of egg and how to actually create and put this in a material. So we actually have a technology. So in the bread, you create eggs, and when you try to whip the cream, there's a lot of things that you need. And so we're actually trying to create properties in an alternative egg that makes it easier to create whipped eggs or whipped cream. So we want to, when you actually use eggs to create whipped cream, a lot of companies, they actually are impacted by people handling the product, but we can actually avoid that. And when you create the product for eggs, it's a fresh product. And so sometimes there is a unique sort of odor, and we're actually able to get rid of those odors that are unique to eggs. So compared to using an existing egg, we can actually provide a lot of benefits to consumers. And so that is why that is the basis of creating materials and products. So through the various presentations, we heard that I think that For all genres, egg is very important, and using food tech solutions, we can actually focus on the various functions of an egg and try to create an alternative egg that is really delicious and something that people want to eat. So after the presentation, we asked our presenters some questions. So now I would like to open the floor for more questions. So if anyone has any questions, please use this opportunity to ask our presenters questions. We are providing simultaneous interpretation, so you can ask questions in English or Korean. So please raise your hand, then our staff will hand you a microphone. So the first question.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 고려대학교에서
Hello.
식품공학 전공하고
I am majoring food engineering in Korea University. My name is Park
한국에서
Kwon-ung.
생산 및 판매되는 건강기능식품이나
So if you look at the health functional foods or alternative foods being distributed in Korea, or the ingredients that are used in these products are mostly imported. So in order for Korea to go global and succeed in the global market, do we need to localize our ingredients, or do we have to acknowledge the fact that the gap exists and that maybe we should focus more on the technology and advancing the technology? So I think that the question is addressed to all the speakers. Yes, maybe we can get brief answer from each of the speakers. So in terms of food tech, maybe we can get the answer first from David.
대답해 주셔야 되는 게
So I think, I'm not sure if each of us answering this question is meaningful, but we don't focus on functional foods, so it might be a little bit difficult for me to answer your question. But in which area can we have competitiveness? I think that is something that we should look at rather than trying to create it in Korea. If we look at processing technology, Cosmex and BT, they talked about processing technology. If you have outstanding technology, we can use overseas material. For our company, using Korean ingredients, we do carry out tests to create out various proteins. But in reality, of course, in terms of research, you might get good functions or performance. So I think I'm probably the only person who can answer this question. So that is why I'm giving a very long answer. So everyone else is working on a global sort of stage. Agricultural produce from Korea, we carry out various tests. I don't know, there is a bean that is white and has a different functions, and it creates a lot of foam. And so how do you use this ingredient? When you think about this question, it's not easy to get the answer. So each individual company, rather than thinking about how to grow this, I think from an industry point of view, we have to look at about creating and using database about different food products, and also creating a database about the different product functions. I think that maybe Foodpolis could help us create this type of database, and that would help us to commercialize technologies and products. At the end of the day, companies want to generate profits, and I don't think anyone wants to use materials where they're actually losing money. So, of course, you can use this material to actually create demand in the near future, but I think in the long term, you need to have infrastructure institutions in place for sustainability. So I think I should be the only one maybe answer this question. So maybe someone else wants to answer the question.
김정은 대표님이 말씀하신 내용에 좀 추가해서
Adding to what David just said,
당연히 한국의 특수한 자원들을 활용을 해서
of course, it would be nice if we can use local resources in Korea to localize the resources. But nowadays, the trend is collaboration. So we have the lemon balm extract in Korea, and this ingredient can be complemented together with other types of extracts in Korea to go for clinical trials and get approval. So I don't think that it is the right way to go for just localization, only Korea. I think the best way is to go out there and seek external partners and establish partnership and collaboration for a win-win effect. And of course, I recommend benchmarking the best practices of global companies because global companies, they just not focus on developing materials, but they have a long-term vision. They have a long-term vision based on the consumer trends in the next 5, 10, to 15 years. They develop these type of materials in line of those evolving trends. So no matter how good a material is, if it's not accepted by the consumer, it's not marketable. So all of your efforts will go up in the air. So that is why I would recommend, collaborating with global companies like Nestle here, because it is very important to be keen on what kind of functionality that the consumers in the future will be interested. That is why you have to continue to do research and study when developing materials.
Do you have any? No? No?
Maybe just to agree
Yeah.
totally with what both have just said, that you need a competitive advantage, you need an enabling environment, and most of the trends are moving towards collaboration.
All right. It was more than enough the answer to share. 감사합니다. 그러면 두 번째 질문 혹시
So we will
있으실지
take another question.
여쭤보겠습니다.
So if there is another question from the floor.
네, 바로 말씀해 주시면 됩니다.
네. 일단 발표
So once again, thank you very much for the wonderful presentations.
IFF 하는 점에서
I have a question for Ms. Han from IFF.
프로바이오틱스 제외하고
Other than probiotics, what are some popular ingredients in the global market and what are the claims attached to them?
제가 질문을 잘 이해했는지 다시 한번 좀 여쭤보고 싶은데.
I'd like to repeat your question if I understood it right. So other than probiotics, you asked what is the most accepted and sold
소재가 무엇인지
ingredients in the world? Is that the question? Yes.
이제 글로벌 시장 자료를 보시면
If you look at the global market statistics,
프로바이오틱스뿐만 아니라
but not only like probiotics,
다양한
but
이제 장 건강이라든지
there are
면역에 대한
also
니즈가 많기 때문에
a lot of needs regarding GI health and immunity. So we have to not forget about vitamins
기능성에 대한 니즈가 많아서
because there is a huge need for immune health in Korea. So the vitamins and minerals products are gaining a lot of momentum. I don't know about the exact size of this segment, but if you want further information, I can get back to you with my business card, and then we will share with you more detailed information about the market. So when it comes to the market size and the functional ingredients, you also mentioned about claims. And as I introduced in my presentation, GI health and immune health represent the largest portion of the market. But we do not just end there. We have to continue to study and examine the changing needs of the consumers, and that is why there are lots of developments going on in terms of functional materials. And as I said, there is a growing interest in women's health in Asian countries. It's becoming more and more prominent, and a lot of related products are being sold. And that is why we should not forget about women or women's health in developing a product. I myself am a woman, but there is a life stage of a woman that we have to consider in developing our product and marketing our product. And you should take note of that in order to be successful. Yes, so I think that was a very important tip or know-how in terms of running a business. Now, moving on to the next question from the floor. I think that we have many people raising their hands up.
So first of all, I would like to say thank you for the wonderful presentations. I have a question for Mr. Takahashi.
So the EVAL, applied products, are they being exported a lot? I would like to know how much of those exports are taking place and what kind of impact that had on your company business, Kurare.
first of all, we produce EVA in the 3 factories in Okayama and also U.S. Houston in the Belgium, EU. So we have 3 sites, and now we export to the all over the world from these 3 plants. And now, how can I say, in Japanese sales amount is very limited. So Clare is the Japanese company, but Japanese sales amount is very limited. And how can I say it? So, what impact? Sorry, okay, my understanding is okay. So we already sold in the world very much.
All over the
Even
world,
all
every
over the
country in
world,
the
yeah.
all the global market.
Almost.
Almost. Okay. Hopefully it's gonna be 100% soon. All right. Okay. 감사합니다. 그 마켓 사이즈에 대해서도 지금
Yes, so
질문하고 답변을
that was a
주셨는데 그
question about the market size and also answer about the market size. I think that we can also get back to you with more details. I would like to know who wants to ask questions.
남겨드리겠습니다.
네, 일단 발표 잘 들었고요.
So thank you for the
저는
presentations. I am from the Korea Food Research Institute of Korea. I have a question for Mr. Kim from Intake. So you were talking about alternative protein, and are there any products that you are creating that are plant-based? And you were talking about animal protein, and I was wondering if there are is it possible for us to completely replace animal protein products? What do you think about the prospects?
개발하고 있는 것들
So we're looking at how to change the animal protein to plant-based protein.
지금 만들고 있는 거는
So that's what I should tell you, right? Yes. So I actually quickly went through my slides, so I wasn't able to explain in detail. But in terms of alternative meat, we want to create really delicious chicken, and we are working with a chicken expert.
직접 하고 있는 업체랑
So we are working with a company and doing joint research with them. So the most delicious chicken, we want to provide an experience that goes beyond just alternative meat. Up until now, people have been trying to, for example, when you go to a fine restaurant, they try to create fine restaurants and provide meals. If you go to a fine restaurant, of course, the product might be delicious, but it's not a product you're going to eat on a daily basis. But chicken is something you eat every day. And we wanted to bring a lot of change in the chicken product. And we thought that we would be able to create a lot of impact. So we are working with a partner.
먹고 싶은 치킨을
So we want to make chicken that everyone wants to eat. That is our biggest sort of challenge. And so we are developing, chicken breast, and we have been actually, studying chicken meat itself. But do we really need to replace animal protein with plant-based protein? That's something we have to think about. I mean, for some products, you might actually have to replace animal protein with plant protein. Depends on the value that the company is pursuing. For our motto, we look at climate change. We look at providing, food supply. So our concept is let's replace meat that is most consumed by people. And we are looking at microorganisms, looking at alternative food sources such as algae and seafood.
결국은 식물성이 아닌
So I think then we can actually replace animal protein as well as meat from livestock industry.
한국이 전 세계에 있는
So around the world,
10억 정도 추산이 되더라고요.
there's about 31 billion livestock animals, and I understand there are 25 billion chickens. So they actually impact the environment much more than humans. And in the livestock industry, I think they have also think about about the environmental sort of challenges, that's something that we have to think as well. So that will sort of be the direction moving forward.
바라겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 네.
Thank you very much. Now, I think we have a person raising hand on the side. Hello. Thank you for all the presentations. I have a question for Mr. Kasso.
So at Foodpolis, we have an international conference looking at issues from the food industry every year. So Nestle is leading the food industry. And in 2025, what do you think will be the key words or sort of the key trends? And in the long term, for the next generation, what sort of topics will be important in the food industry?
Thank you for a wonderful question, because it's looking towards the future. And of course, I don't know. I can just speculate from what I see and what we talk about within my own organization. I think questions about sustainability, questions about regenerative, questions about true change to the previous question, education, because many of these new questions are raising new solutions, but where maybe the consumer hasn't necessarily selected that that's what I want. And that means that all of us across the value chain, including companies, all the way down to Foodpolis and institutions such as Foodpolis, there's an educational component at play. And we all play a part of that, both starting with ourselves. And I can tell you, within Nestle, over the last 15 years, all of us as leaders have had to learn these topics, learn what we can control, learn what stakeholders beyond us, because of course it's broad, who does what and how do we work together. And that is a constant theme that is accelerating a little bit, but I see that being critical because, and it was mentioned in several of the presentations today, legal parameters are changing in parts of the world where there are now questions and regulations and demands and requests that all of us have to play within those rules, and there's a lot of change coming associated with that. So I think identifying the context, selecting what it is we can do, what it is we need others to accomplish together, but ideally moving in directions that are sustainable and ideally at a faster pace, because these are fundamental questions that we can't be late on. When we're talking about things like greenhouse gas, when we're talking about sustainable agricultural value chains, when we're talking about economic interests of individual industries. So speed and sustainability.
Thank you very much for your great answer. And collaboration and setting of new regulation and systems might be very key factors for future generation. 감사합니다.
Yes, thank you very much. We have 4 minutes left. Maybe we can get 2 more questions, or maybe 1 question, more a profound question maybe. Hello, I am Iana from Foodpolis Food Promotion Institute, and I have a question for
독성 관련 연구를 하고 있는데요. 저희가 독성을 하게 되면 아무래도 접근하는 방법이
And so, when we talk about toxic materials, of course, we have to think about safety. But if you're developing alternative meat, I'm sure that there are various different options or technologies that you can use. And we talk about technological advancements in these presentations a lot, but we don't really talk about safety of alternative meat or alternative food products. So I was wondering if you can maybe talk about safety with regard to alternative meat. I think this will be our last question and answer. So I am going to provide the last question to the last question. So with regard to safety, when we talk about alternative meat, of course, I don't think safety is a big issue because we're already using existing ingredients. We're not using something new. In the other sessions, you might have seen this, but is it a substance or a process that is already existing? that is a really important question when we define whether food is novel or not. So we are using existing ingredients, using existing processes, and we have a history of eating this food product, then I think that acceptance is much easy. If that is not the case, of course, then safety might be an issue. For plant-based products, of course, safety is less of an issue because a lot of the protein is actually extracted from plants that we've already eaten before. And so, but if it's cultivated meat or cultivated protein, then maybe safety might be an issue. And so we are actually doing a safety test for the next 5 years, and based on this activity, we'll be able to determine whether it's safe or not. So some people will be, really against it. They're going to talk about an issue of cultivation. Some people are saying there's no issue. You can digest it. So science will tell us. If you look at insects, of course, people have tried insects before, but in terms of extracting and compressing it and making it into a concentration, are we going to use the same sort of test? So basically, we're using ingredients that people have already tasted, and we're using processes or methods that people have used. But cultivated meat or microbial food products, I'm sure that moving forward, safety will become an important criteria. So in order to apply it to the industry quickly, what sort of method can we employ? Out of the two methods, I think it would be better to use existing methods. There is a new thing that we're doing. It is creating microbial protein, and we try to use microorganisms. There are sometimes microorganisms that you cannot use, and so we are using yeast, and we are creating protein ingredient that is not based on GMO. And so these products, I think, can be recognized in the market as similar to existing products. And then we are also trying to create or find products that can actually get government approval quickly. So we'd like to thank Mr. Kim for his perfect answer and for being on time. And so there are many people with many questions, but due to time constraints, we will end the panel discussion here. So once again, we would like to thank the CEO of Nestle Korea, Mr. Thomas Kasso. He delivered the keynote speech, and he was also a panel discussant. So could you maybe, in closing, share with us your thoughts on today's symposium?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
First of all, thank you very much. It was an honor and a pleasure to be here. Congratulations and thank you to my fellow panelists for wonderful presentations as well. I think this is the spirit to the question I answered just before, that we need to be getting together, we need to be sharing learnings, we need to find collaboration opportunities. These are very big questions, a lot of change dynamics, and I'm happy to be a part by being here today.
Thank you very much for making this conference even more special and valuable. 네, 마지막 총평과 함께 멋지게 이 패널 토론까지
So thank you very much for those wrap-up remarks. I would like to thank Mr. Kasso, Ms. Han, and also Mr. Takahashi and Mr. Kim. So please thank them with a big round of applause. Thank you.